Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of New Wave of People. Today, what I wanted to do was go through another set of questions with you, and some of the few common questions that come up would be, what are your weaknesses? So this one's a little bit of a tricky one to answer because it really takes you to think about what really are your weaknesses and pinpoint what can you do to improve on them. And so what I wanted to do today was go through why interviewers ask this question, what not to do when answering this question, and how to prepare for an answer to be able to answer that question in an interview. So let's get into it, and yeah, get prepared to answer and craft the best response of what are your weaknesses. Okay, first of all, why do interviewers ask this question? I mean, what's the main purpose of it? So the first thing is, the reason why they want to ask you this question is because they want to see how honest you are in your response and how self-aware you are in terms of what your weaknesses are when applying for this job. It gives them the ability to see whether you're able to take feedback, and how to actually best manage you in that approach. Because if you understand what their weaknesses are, you can understand how to improve them in that role itself. And that's the main reason as to why they ask you that question. All right, now let's talk about things not to do in an interview. Now, the most common answer that I see in terms of answering this question is some people like to put out the answer, I'm a perfectionist, or I'm a workaholic. These are answers that I probably try to stay clear from. And the reason why I say that is because it's not an answer that you can give in depth or measure in terms of improving your performance. What the manager really wants is to understand whether you're self-aware about what your weaknesses are and how you can improve what your weaknesses are and what steps are you taking to improve it. So I would definitely stay clear from that answer and focus more on transferable skills. Now, the second thing is that I'd like you to stay clear from is when you're answering the question, what are your weaknesses? Saying I don't have any. I don't have any weaknesses, or actually I don't know what my weaknesses are, right? Because what that does is they go, oh, sorry, what? You don't know what your weaknesses are? First of all, it may come across as arrogant, to be like, oh no, I'm a know-it-all, and I don't really need to improve on anything. I know exactly what I need to do in my job, and there's nothing else I can improve on. That's the first thing, you come across as arrogant. And the second thing is you're not self-aware, nor do you understand what you need to improve to better yourself in the job itself. Because in any sort of role or any sort of experience that you have, you can always improve on it. And so that's the second things that employer would look at when answering that question. So the third thing that I want you not to do is to not talk about skills that are quite relevant to the job itself, right? So let's say example, I'm going for an accountant role and I go, I'm sorry, but I'm not really good at dealing with people. Oh, that's a little bit of a tricky one, isn't it? Because in any sort of role, regardless of what you're doing, whether you're in accounting, whether you're in a standalone role, whether you don't need to deal with people, there is always some sort of element in terms of needing to deal with different personalities, whether it's clients, whether it's co-workers, or whatever it may be. So I will try to stay clear from the I don't deal with people well, I can't time keep well, I can't organize myself well. I mean, you can mention it, but I would prefer to stay away from it, just because sometimes biases can come into play when hiring managers are asking these questions. And so if you mention something like, I'm not good at timekeeping, they can straight away just come to the assumption that they may not be suitable for the role because they can't timekeep. And depending on how you kind of craft that response as well. So just a few things that you shouldn't say in the interview when you're asked the question of what are your weaknesses. But in saying so, there's always a good way to craft that response to be able to articulate yourself correctly. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump on the computer and I want to show you this template that I created so it can make it easier for you to be able to brainstorm what your weaknesses are and how to make it a little bit more relevant to what the role that you're applying for is. So in that way, it just makes the process a little bit more seamless for you. So let's go check it out. And I'm going to jump on right now.
So we're back to it now. And this is the spreadsheet of the template really that I really wanted to show you, because what it does is it talks about the skills that you have right now, the skills in which you need to apply for that position that you're going for, and also like a little bit of a analysis gap to say this is your weaknesses in this area when you're applying for this role. So let's dive into it. We're going to use more of an estimator example in terms of what someone who doesn't have any estimating experience, who's gone into a retail assistant role, but they're studying in uni to achieve that estimator position. So if we go through the skills and experience in terms of what that person does in the role itself, they welcome, greet customers, they deal with purchases and sales orders, policies and promotions, they inform customers of them, and they manage inventory as well. So regardless of whether the skills aren't related or not, we still want to list down all of the skills, because there are some transferable skills in which you can kind of pull out of those job responsibilities and use it as a basis for, even though I don't have this skill, I've done this in the past. So that's the main reason as to why you'd want to input all the key tasks and responsibilities when filling out this template. Now, looking at education qualification, anything that you may have in terms of whether you finished your HSC degree, you're currently studying in engineering, or any other temporary sort of like qualifications or studies that you've done as well. Like even on LinkedIn, like anything that you've gotten from it in terms of skills. In terms of technical abilities, these are more of the knowledge you've achieved from doing from learning a software. These are your hard skills like SAP systems, FPOS, Workday, Elmo, CAD, Auto Design, V6. These are all hard skills in which you've obtained by actually studying and learning that side of things. And you'd want to list down all of the skills that you've learned, because that's more of transferable softwares that sometimes they're quite similar in the sense in how they're operating. And there's just like a few minor changes and details. And so showing that allows you to allows them to see that, you are capable of learning these skills in a, fast manner in terms of how long you've taken to actually complete it. Soft skills as well. So communicating well with customers, being able to read, write, do maths, professional appearance, friendly, outgoing, and very customer service focused as well. While listing all this out, all the retail assistant roles and responsibilities, education, and doing that self-reflection on yourself, what you want to do as well is you want to have a look at what your relatable skills and experience are as well, right? So if you in your spare time, you do some estimating work for a friend, or you do like renovation works for your family. These are all very relevant experiences in which you want to showcase to the employer as well when applying for this role. And I'd also take it a step further and go, what are the skills that you've actually gained from university? Because I understand that you may not have that skill in your current job at the moment as a retail assistant, but you still have showed that skill when you were in uni. So when they need attention to detail, maybe it was when you were doing a CAD assignment and you really needed to understand, one little move in terms of adding a resource here could change the whole budget of the project itself. So that was quite important in terms of dealing with the assignment. Problem-solving skills, whether it was group assignments or, in the retail experience as well, dealing with customers and resolving their queries. Organizational and time management skills. So times when you've shown that where, when you were in uni, you had to manage your assignments, you had to work in a retail assistant role, maintain your active lifestyle while helping the family business as well. These all show how you've actually managed these skills. So I think it's a very good idea to list all of them down. It doesn't matter what kind of, even if it's a little small skill that you think you've achieved, write it down. So then that way you've got more to work with. Now, the second thing that we want to go through as well is a job advertisement. And I took this job advertisement on Seek. And what we're applying for in terms of the job itself is an estimator position, a junior estimator position. So a graduate. position. In the key tasks and responsibilities, they said this person needs to be able to read architectural documentation, liaise with suppliers to obtain pricing, set up spreadsheets and reports in MS Excel, tender preparation and submission, work in a fast-paced environment with tight tender deadlines, and assist estimating teams as directed. So that's all okay in terms of task and responsibilities. The education required is construction and joinery industry or related qualification, which this person does have because they're in an engineering background at the moment. So that's a tick. We can look at more of the technical abilities that are required in the role itself, which is like advanced proficiency in MS Excel, Bluebeam software, and Trengosa software, which this person does not have at all, right? But some of the soft skills that they've mentioned in here are quite transferable in terms of what this person has. So as a retail assistant, they needed to have good verbal communication skills as well as written. They needed to have high attention to detail in the university where they were doing these assignments, and ability to solve problems. That's in retail as well, where they had to solve quite a few queries in terms of customer concerns, and being proactive in that approach as well. So the reason why I've mentioned to look at interests as well in terms of what you've studied is to be able to counteract what the employers are wanting. So if you can show that you've gotten transferable skills, that puts you above the rest of all the other candidates. So while filling out this spreadsheet as well, or this section for employers, what I want to focus more on as well is how to use those don't have skills and experience section, which is you looking at, the role, the job description itself and thinking, okay, so what are the skills I absolutely don't have there? And I'd say, I don't have no Bluebeam software experience. I don't have Trengosa experience as well. I'm not too sure what that is or what that entails. You can have a look on Google in terms of what it requires and how similar it is to the skills that you've actually achieved in your studies in uni as well. So if we go down to weaknesses, right, you want to list down some of the weaknesses that you have yourself in terms of the role. It has to be very relevant to the role. So the first thing I'd say is I don't have any Bluebeam or Trengosa experience because I've never dealt with that software before. But what I've done in terms of support, right? Support, I put support there in terms of more transferable skills or anything that you can support that weakness on, and learnings and how you can overcome that. That's the reason why I put weakness, support, and learning there. So the weakness is I don't have any experience in those softwares. However, I have learned CAD software and auto design software, which is quite similar to what the software Trengosa and Bluebeam is. I'm sorry, I'm not too sure whether that is the case or not, but it's quite similar to that in that sense. And I am very dedicated to learning it. So those are the 3 points that you can use to emphasize when you're talking in the interview itself. And what you can do is you can actually make a statement, and this is my statement that I wrote in terms of how to counteract that weakness is, I noticed that the job advertisement mentioned that there was a requirement to use Bluebeam and Trengosa. And what I'd say would be my weakness is that I don't have enough experience in dealing with this software and I haven't touched it before. So even though I haven't specifically dealt with this software, I've picked up CAD software and auto design software within a few months of, dedicating study and learning to it. And I feel like they're quite similar to the software that you mentioned in the job description. So I believe that I can pick up this software quite well, and I'm very keen to see how it works and learn about this software. That would be my first sort of description about weaknesses itself. Now, the second one that I would mention as well is sometimes I lack confidence, and this is more of a personality trait. I wouldn't say personality trait. I'd say it's just something that a lot of people would need development on in terms of when you're learning a new skills. It's just normal that you're not confident in your skills itself. But when you keep practicing and practicing, you will eventually become confident in that area. So one of the weaknesses in which I think is quite good to use as well is sometimes I lack confidence, and it could be confidence in terms of the skills itself that you're learning, or you're just not confident in your opinion and value your opinion in front of others. And so this is just a trait that you can use, which is very universal in all sort of interviews, to be able to overcome this question. So personal traits, sometimes I lack confidence. That's the weakness. What's the support? What have you been doing to actually help that? I've been taking Toastmaster classes to help build this skill so I can be more vocal in my approach. And what's the learnings that you get? What's the learnings you want to do? So I'm actually very dedicated to improving my confidence through Toastmasters, continuing my Toastmasters, and also through talking to my friends and family to be able to get that support from them as well. And to sum up in a statement how I use those weaknesses, support and learning, you can come up with something like this in terms of, in the past, I've sometimes struggled with confidence of raising my voice, fearing that my opinion wasn't worth mentioning. It's been really helpful for me to start documenting what I've done and the impacts I've made on the team as well, to better understand why I should be confident about the skills and talents that I bring to the table. On top of this, I've really been trying to attend Toastmasters as well. So then I can vocally voice my ideas and opinions during meetings where I feel may be appropriate. And so when I can add value to the conversation. And because of this, our team ended up adopting a new idea for a retail process, which resulted in a 10% holding stock reduction in our annual budget. And so you can just mention something like that, quite simple in terms of what you've done, what's your weaknesses, what are you doing to support that weakness, and also what are your learnings from it as well. So then that way they know that you're always constantly trying to improve your weaknesses. So that's a spreadsheet I have for you today. I will share it in the link below. If you have any questions in terms of any interview questions that you get stuck on, or just need some help in general, let me know. I can cover it up in the next video. If you found this very helpful, please like and subscribe. And that way I can create more content like this to help you out and make your job process a little bit more seamless. That's it for today. And I hope you enjoyed this video and you have a good day. See you, everyone.